This is a video of an article published by The Conversation on the 22nd of November 2017. The authors were Madeline de Gabriel, Michael Hopkin and Wes Mountain. This is the site of the proposed Adani Carmichael coal mine and its railway. Stretching for roughly 50 kilometres, it will be one of the largest mines in the world, and definitely the largest in Australia. The proposed site will include 6 open cut pits, 5 underground mines, 5 infrastructure areas, an on-site coal processing plant, and a 189 kilometre rail connection, towards which the federal government has pledged a loan of $1 billion. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk has promised to veto the loan, but some experts say that it may go ahead anyway. Local housing and an airport will also be needed. The closest town, Clermont, is 160 kilometres away. It has a population of just 3,031 people. So how many jobs will the project create? The politicians say 10,000. The Queensland Department of State Development says up to 6,395. But Adani's special witness, Jerome Farah, told the Queensland Land Court that the mine would create just 1,464 new jobs. So what are the likely environmental impacts? Adani has been granted unlimited volumes of water for 60 years from the Great Artesian Basin, a vast underground reservoir spanning most of Queensland and parts of the Northern Territory, South Australia and northern New South Wales. Around 200 small towns draw their water from the basin's aquifers, with most taking an allotment of between 100 to 500 million litres of water per year. The estimate for the Adani Carmichael mine's water usage from the basin is 12 billion litres per year. The next highest user is the Olympic Dam copper and uranium mine in South Australia, at 10 billion litres per year. And even given this, Adani's water allocation is unlimited. The Adani Carmichael mine site and the connecting rail link also intersect with several endangered and vulnerable species. The endangered black-throated finch has already lost 80% of its habitat, mainly thanks to agriculture. A significant portion of its remaining habitat is within the bounds of the Carmichael mine site. The mine will remove the best remaining habitat and fragment the good quality habitat that remains. The ornamental snake is listed as vulnerable and was the subject of a court case that saw the federal court overturn the mine's approval in 2015. The then Federal Environment Minister, Greg Hunt, and the Queensland Government reapproved it later that year after further consultation and investigation. The vulnerable squatter pigeon's habitat is much larger, but the entire Carmichael mine site is within its territory. The waxy cabbage palm is a vulnerable species of palm found exclusively in the area that surrounds the Carmichael mine site. The yakka skink is another vulnerable species that was part of the court case that saw Adani's mine approval briefly overturned in 2015. The mine and connecting rail are directly within its habitat. And while the final approval requires Adani to provide offsets for the species displaced, allocating land and strategies to address the loss of habitat, an analysis of the Adani offsets has described them as completely inadequate. But the environmental impacts aren't limited to the site of the mine. Shipping the coal to the international market also requires a huge expansion of the Abbott Point coal terminal, which is also owned by Adani. This means dredging 1.1 million cubic metres of the seabed and dumping it near the Cayley Valley wetlands. Earlier plans to dump the dredge spoil within the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park have been cancelled, but the dredging itself will reduce water quality and increase the likelihood of coral disease. Sediment from dredging also smothers and cuts light to coral reefs, which they require for photosynthesis. So what about the actual coal? Adani says the mine will produce 2.3 billion tonnes of coal over 60 years and 60 million tonnes a year at peak production. it will produce two kinds of coal: high quality low ash coal for the Chinese market and low quality higher polluting coal for the Indian market. When burned, that coal will generate greenhouse gases equivalent to 4.5 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide. For comparison, the estimated total amount of carbon dioxide released by fossil fuels in 2017 globally will be 37 billion tonnes. But what's the payoff for all of this impact? It's difficult to say if the mine will actually be profitable. Obviously Adani thinks it will be, but experts have raised doubts, and the ABC has reported that those profits may be shifted offshore. As editor of this video, I make the following points. It is clear that India neither wants nor needs Australian coal. It wants renewables. Equally clear is that the Australian Adani project is a scam. That scam revolves around Australian government assistance. Once assistance is granted, the Carmichael project becomes bankable, and Adani will, likely as not, flog it off as quickly as possible to the rather more gullible Chinese. In fact, Chinese and Australian government officials are meeting in Cairns next Monday, immediately following the Queensland election. Do you smell a rat? The huge capital gain thus engendered, perhaps several $billion, will be shifted offshore to a tax haven. The Chinese will struggle to make any profit. More likely, a substantial loss. Australia will be left with a huge hole in the ground, a devastated environment, and world pariah status regarding climate change. And the world will lurch decisively further towards irreversible climatic disaster. All because Gautam Adani wants to make a killing, and our pathetic politicians are only too ready to grease his sweaty palm.